Lipid is a important biomolecule so far as the structure, functions and energy productions is concerned in the biological systems. It is an important component or structural features of the biomembranes also. So today we are going to discuss the important properties of the lipids, particularly phospholipids, that is the amphipathic natures of the lipids or amphipathic natures of the phospholipids or amphipathic natures of the fatty acids. So what is the amphipathic molecules? So amphipathic molecules are the molecules which contains the both polar groups as well as the non-polar groups. So or polar molecules or non-polar polar molecules in a same molecules. So all of you know that the what are the example of the polar molecules. As for example, water is the highly polar molecules, acids and alkali as well as the alcohol also a example of the highly polar molecules, whereas the non example of non-polar molecules is the chloroform or benzenes or ether, petroleum ethers, just like the petroleum ethers are the example of the non-polar molecules. So in case of the amphipathic molecules, it contains the both the type of molecules like the polar groups as well as the non-polar groups at the same time. So here see the structures of the phospholipids. So phospholipids, it is the important molecules which are made up of esters of glycerol as well as the fatty acids, and it contains the extra molecules of the phosphate groups as well as some R groups. It is the changing depending the type of the uh, fatty acids or type of the molecules. So here see the structures of these groups. It contains the glycerol as well as fatty as well as the phosphate group. So it is the highly hydrophilic in nature. So this is the made up of hydrophilic head of the phospholipid. So it is the polar in nature, whereas the this fatty acids parts which contains the long aliphatic tail or long aliphatic chains. So they are the hydrophobic in nature. So this is the non-polar one. So this part is the non-polar one in case of the phospholipids, and this part is the polar one in case of the phospholipid. So at the same time it contains both polar as well as the non-polar groups. Here you see the structures of the fatty acids. It contains the long chains aliphatic tail which are non-polar in nature, whereas it is also contains the carboxylic acids group COOH groups. So it is the highly polar one. So it is the soluble in water and its nature is the polar one. So in a fatty acid also these parts are polar heads and these parts are the non-polar tail. So in generals always there are polar heads or remains facing towards the aqueous parts of the cell, whereas these groups that are these groups which are the non-polar in natures, they are their tendency to remains the away from the aqueous part. So it is the remains inside the or away from the aqueous parts, and polar heads are remains towards facing the aqueous part. So this is the important property of the lipids, that is the amphipathic natures of the lipids. So thank you for watching this video. Okay.